everyone, and welcome back to She Plays the Podcast. I'm super excited to have Steve Rubenfaer, who is the founder and CEO of Bettor Takes, the first company in the sports betting industry devoted to helping sports bettors improve performance through understanding their own betting patterns and biases. He's on the podcast today. Thanks, Steve, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Real quick, I'd love to hear a little bit. Have you always been into sports? Did you play a lot of sports growing up? Kind of what's your non-professional or professional athletic career that we might not know about?
Yeah, you had to lead with that. Actually, I'm not a big sports guy. I'm not a big sports player myself. I haven't really grown up with team sports, and I'm more of a financial guy. I'm more of a numbers guy, and I've just always been interested in sports betting. And I just was, I bet sports a lot as a kid. And when the Supreme Court made it legal a few years ago, I started betting college basketball. So I don't have like a very long track record of participation in sports, or I'm not very involved in the industry for a very long time. This is my first foray in the industry, and it came as a result of me being a bettor in college basketball.
I love that. Do you remember the first bet that you made as a kid?
I don't remember the first bet, but what put me on the map was 1985 when I bet Villanova over Georgetown in that final game. So I
Okay.
was all over that. I was big for betting underdogs, and I always was like cheering on the underdogs and thought they were mispriced. And I'd always be the one kid in school that would hit some huge underdog and make everyone pay me $10.
That's awesome. I love that. Villanova is always my secret team. And Gonzaga in brackets. They were, but now they're
Yeah.
top of the league nowadays. So yeah, so that's really cool. So getting more on the betting and statistics side of it kind of thing. Yeah, what is your journey to starting Bettor Takes?
So when I started betting college basketball a few years ago. I was making a lot of bets, and I really like the smaller leagues, the smaller divisions, and the weird stuff, and the weird conferences. And I started betting, and there's just so many college basketball games every day. There's like 50, 100 games, and I just became very curious as to how I was doing in certain categories, and nothing even tricky, like how do I do in the Big Ten? How do I do with underdogs? How do I do with home favorites? And I went on the web looking for tools to help me. And I was really shocked to find that there was nothing out there. All they had was kind of rudimentary bet trackers that just kind of show you your win loss. But there was nothing that could parse out my past history and tell me what I was good at and what I should focus on and where I needed help. And I was really shocked. And at the time, I one of my friend's kids who was in college, 22-year-old, I was talking to him about college basketball, and I was just like, and I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've always started companies from scratch, and I just got this idea, and I'm like, you know what? Let's build it. If it's not out there, and this is clearly a growing industry, then we should build it. So I guess my secret here is that I build it really just to look at my own performance at college basketball, and that's what this whole company is about. I just want to see how I do.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that the story of lots of successful companies? It's built out of the need that the founder themselves has. So same with She Plays, same with me wanting to play fantasy with my friends and it not existing for women's sports. So that's awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, like how have you been able to see and really dive into like it says like your patterns and your biases, like yeah, are there things that you have become aware of because now you're starting to track them, or you kind of always had the system and now you're just making it available to other people?
No, no,
Okay.
this I started from scratch. So what we built is I created it for me and everyone at the same time. So I didn't have anything before we built this. And yeah, it's been an interesting road for myself. You mean myself personally? Like what has it taught
Yeah.
me? So, when I bet, so the kind of one of the theory is that everyone has patterns and biases that you're unaware of.
Hmm.
And all of our lives are kind of ruled by our psychological factors or our subconscious much more than we think, right? Like we think that our conscious mind is what's going on, but really behind the scenes, there's a lot pulling the levers. And there's no reason why gambling isn't the same way. Like our betting decisions aren't immune from psychological factors, and so we have certain patterns and biases that we're not aware of. And me personally, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always started companies. Like I've always been employee one for a year, and I've always started companies from scratch. I've always been the underdog. And it's not surprising that when I bet college basketball, I only bet underdogs because
Hmm.
I identify with them, right? So that's like a psychological factor. So, what was surprising to me when I analyzed my own college basketball bets last season, is how really well I do betting favorites. And I never would have known that. Now it makes kind of intuitive sense because there's a much higher bar. Like, I don't want to bet the favorites. Like, I don't want to bet Duke. I don't want to bet those guys, but I don't want to see them win. But, sometimes you got to bet them. You got to do what you got to do. So that was really surprising, is it really showed me that when I do like favorites, they do tend to cover.
Yeah,
So that,
absolutely.
so I'm case number one with my own software.
Love that. Yeah. What would you say for people who, I mean, like you said, sports betting is exploding, right? It is a new frontier in a totally new way. And I want to get into the women's part of that. But for folks who maybe don't understand betting or it's a little scary to them, what would you say to those folks and what do you really enjoy about it?
I enjoy what I enjoy. So to me, I can break down betting into two parts, and one of them is kind of information, and one of them is feeling or intuition. And there's a lot of data involved. So different people. First of all, I guess what I would tell people is that you have to find what resonates with you as a person. Everyone is different, and don't follow just a system because somebody else uses it. It might not work for you. Everyone is different. Go with your gut and go with your instinct. So the first part of things is data. Figure out what's relevant to you, figure out what kind of information you want to look at or not look at. Don't listen to anyone else, just feel what's right for you. But when you actually make a bet, this is actually my process, so it might not work for everyone, but when you make a bet, make it from the heart, not the head. So use your intuition to make that bet. You know when something's a good bet. If something looks like a good bet on paper and the data is there and intellectually you think, yeah, this is a great bet, but it just doesn't feel right, don't make it. It's not a good bet. So our intuitions are really, really powerful. And unfortunately, in modern society, we don't really develop our intuition like we would have to on the Serengeti or whatever, right? But it's there. But it needs information. Your intuition gets better and better and gets fueled by information. So keep learning, keep looking at data, keep trying. But it's the trial and error, the win or loss, that's going to fuel your intuition. So, that little voice inside that says, take your jacket outside. I think it might be cold today. That's what you want. That's when you want to make that bet. Make the bet based on your feeling. Make the bet when you say, when you look at a line, when you look at a spread, you say 7. God, that should be 2. That's when you make the bet. Make the bet when you have that feeling. Trust your intuition. Not at first. Your intuition might misguide you a little bit at first, but so use data. That's how I look at it. I use data, I use information just to fuel my intuition. And then when I feel like it sufficiently has enough to go on, I go with my gut and I go with my feeling. And the bets that I feel strongest about are the ones I win. And the bets where I'm like, God, that's my system. It always works. Yeah, I got to bet that. It's not going to win. So that's what
Wow.
I would recommend is learn, 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 learn. But at the end of the day, focus on how you feel and try to really reach in there and see how you feel about these games. Get out of your head, get in your head when you need to, but then get out of your head to pull the trigger and make a bet.
Yeah. And just real quick, like just education, you mentioned line and spread. Do you mind letting
Oh,
our
sorry.
listeners like, no, no,
Okay.
no, it's great. What those
Okay.
are?
So basically when you have a game, the odds on a game are, there's different ways to bet the game. But the most basic way to bet the game is called a point spread. If you think about it, if two teams are playing, the casinos don't want to have an opinion on the game. The casinos want to not care who wins. They want to make money. They're like stockbrokers. They want to make money either way. To do that, they need an equal weight of money on both sides. And the way they achieve that is by handicapping one of the teams. Because there's always going to be a team that's better or at least perceived better. So if you just bet on who's going to win, all the money's going to go on one side and the casino is going to lose. So the way they equalize teams for a matchup is with a point spread. So if two teams are playing, like the Mystics and what's another WNBA team? I should know this. So if two
Liberty.
WNBA
Yeah.
teams I think, is WNBA the only league that has betting in Vegas? I think it might be the only female league that has betting right now.
The soccer league had their first odds, I think, last year for the
Oh,
first time
nice.
ever, though. So it's growing. But yeah, you can
That's
say
where you want to
the
get
Mystics and
involved.
Liberties. Let's say that.
Liberties. Okay, good. The Mystics and the Liberties are playing. If the Mystics are better than the Liberties, they're going to handicap them by saying, okay, if you want to bet the Mystics, they not only have to win the game, but they have to win by 5 points. So from that, we have a point spread, which is Mystics -5.
Hmm.
So if you want to bet the Mystics, they have to win by 5 or more. If you want to bet the Liberties, the other side, you can win the bet even if they lose the game, as long as they lose by 5 or less. So the point spread is a way to equalize both teams so the casinos have monies on both sides. And there's other more complicated things like that, but we can stop there.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
perfect.
and the one that's getting the points is called the underdog because they're perceived as not quite as good as the favorite, the team that supposedly is
Right.
better.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, and it, is there is there betting yet for women's college basketball?
No, definitely not. I
Not
haven't
yet.
never seen that. If there's betting for women's soccer, though, that's good. If there's something new, that's what the more, like NFL is all played out, right? How do you get an edge in the NFL? Well,
Mm,
actually, with our software, you can. We'll talk about that in a minute. But with you want to, it's really good if you want to make money betting. Focus on the smaller markets. Like next year, I'm going to start betting. I only bet college basketball. I don't bet anything else. But I think I'm going to add WNBA because I
awesome.
think there's an opportunity because it's not played out yet. Most people haven't really found it yet. They will, but right now there's probably a lot of mismatch and a lot of mispricing. Probably good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what is the edge? What can Better Takes provide that maybe would help someone, yeah, be more successful?
So when it comes to information about a game, all the data out there that people use is exactly the same. People look at the same stuff, the same strategies, the same trends. It's all the same. What we do is we focus on you and what your expertise and what your proficiency is. So we look at your past history to see how you do in certain situations. And it starts off the first, and there's a lot of products we built basically an algorithm that finds your strengths and weaknesses. And there's a lot of products that we're in the process of building from that algorithm. But the most important tool, the basic tool, is a predictive tool where you put in what bet you want to make, and we tell you whether or not it's a good idea. And we do that by looking through your past history, finding similar situations, and distilling a whole bunch of variables into one number that we call an edge score. For example, if you want to bet the Mystics -5, we look through your past history betting the WNBA. We don't look at any data outside of that. We don't look at any trends. We don't look at how the Mystics have been doing this year. We just look at you and what's inside of you. And we say, you know what? That's a pretty good thing for you. Your edge score is 57. An edge of 50 is kind of like you have no advantage. That would be like a coin flip. So if you have a high edge score, it kind of confirms that that's something you do well in. And then you have more information. You can feel more confident about your bet. It's just more information. It's another piece of the puzzle. Or we might say, you kind of suck at that bet. Your edge score is 42. You should stay away from it. And you can either just stay away or lower your bet, or if you're going to the game, you're going to bet anyway. But it's just a piece of the pie. And you can even take things a little more proactively further and say, why is that bad? Why aren't I doing well? And you can kind of look in addition to the edge score, we show you some statistics, and you can kind of see where the areas are that you're weaker, and you can think about them and maybe figure out like a little bit like why do I do so poorly with home teams off of a loss or something like that. So we also want to try to be a little educational and help you shore up those areas that you're a little weak. And
That's
that's basically our fundamental program. And it sounds like basic and easy, but there's really nothing like it on the market. And I mean nothing. There's nothing like it out there. And all the data out there is just focused on the game itself and the matchup. And everyone's got that. And nothing is really, it's really going to be the only way that you can get an edge because everyone's going to have the same data. And it's just going to be impossible to really have an advantage. Everyone's going to be a pro, like poker, what's happened in poker. And, really looking into your own expertise and your own proficiency is going to be the real way of the future. So we think that this is not only just going to be us, we think we're leading a pack and where the industry is headed.
yeah. Well, and even for, the non-edge numbers, or if your edge is really low, like contributing to more responsible gaming potentially or gambling, just like if, oh, you're not super great at this one, maybe walk away.
Yeah.
Because I know that's a big issue that folks in the industry are tackling too, is how to do this and have fun and make money, but be responsible. So, yeah, that's incredible. What do you see as like the future of sports betting, and in particular, what do you think women's sports being fully integrated into the sports betting landscape would do for those leagues?
I think that betting is great for the leagues. And I think for women's sports, betting is really a key to getting them grow and getting them more of an audience and more exposure. The leagues are embracing betting, and that's because betting drives engagement. When people bet on the games, they watch the games, they go to the games, they pre-ESPN. So the league, it's amazing how society has just turned positive on gambling over the last few years, isn't it? It's really crazy.
Hmm.
But you go to like ESPN, like all the networks have gaming stuff. You go to stadiums, and there's sports books inside of stadiums. It's really phenomenal how the public sentiment has turned into now looking gambling as something as a vice anymore. And like you said, it can be dangerous. It needs to be done responsibly. We look at it as entertainment. Sports are entertainment, and betting enhances the entertainment value. So where entertainment, where gambling is going, I'm not sure where it's going exactly. I mean, some trends that might be a little more advanced for this. I think that right now you can bet on all these casinos, DraftKings, Barstool. I have the feeling that those guys are going to go away because they really offer nothing. I think peer-to-peer gambling is the future
Hmm.
because all you have to do is, have two people that want the same bet, opposite sides of the bet, have some kind of escrow account, and you don't need to pay casinos 10% anymore. So I think that things are going to move away from the casinos and towards peer-to-peer bettings. And there's already some platforms that are doing that. But for
Yeah.
women's sports, I think betting is going to be great. I think they should all embrace women's sports. We've been talking to the WNBA a little bit. We think that our product is a natural for women's sports because we think it's a natural for women because women are more intuitive than men. Women are more likely to look at their own data, and women can face themselves a little better than we can. So we're really high on women's sports, and we really think that and it just not only women's sports but women bettors in general. Like women bettors are more and more, more and more a higher percent of bettors are female than ever, and that's going to keep growing just as it has in the poker world. And more women, you can see it when you look at ESPN, you look at Twitter. I mean, there's more women analysts and women in the business than there ever has been. I went to the industry conference last year, and there were literally like two girls and a bunch of dudes. This time I went a couple months ago, and there was women everywhere. There was just like in all different parts, marketing, and they knew about sports, and it's just and it's because of gambling has just generated this interest in women betting and women's sports. It's fantastic, and I think that the women's sports should really engage, really embrace gambling and look at it as something that can generate interest and get people engaged in watching.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's a good pairing.
and folks who are familiar with betting, it's a new frontier of, yeah, folks who aren't experts in it yet. There's a lot of chance to become the expert before everyone else gets into it. So I'm with you. Yeah, it drives engagement. It drives people asking and craving games to be on TV. So I am here for it. The responsible gambling that can be done. And how can folks find Better Takes, and how can they get like sign up, or what is it like to become a part of Better Takes?
So right now we haven't really launched yet. We're in beta testing. You can use our software. It's a little buggy and the explanations aren't great right now. We're adding that, but it's right now, it's going to be in the App Store soon. But right now, if you want to check out Better Takes, it's only on a mobile browser. So you have to go on your cell phone and use a browser. And you can find it at m.bettertakes.com. And it's better like Bettor. Better Takes. It's like a joke. So bettertakes.com, m.bettertakes.com, and you'll basically see some onboarding screens, which will tell you a little bit about the program. But the way it works is you just select the games you want to bet, you hit analyze, and it shows you how you do in those same situations. It gives you an edge score for every bet. We also have a product we work with called BetSync that downloads your history from any of the legal sports books, because obviously our software works better with the most history. If you don't have any history in there, it'll take about a week or two, but you will get meaningful results pretty soon. But if you use any of the legal sports books in any state, you can download your entire history into our software very effortlessly, and that will make you have better results. So check it out, m.bettertakes.com. You can reach me at I'm steve@bettertakes.com, and tell me your feedback, because right now we're in this beta testing phase, and we just need to hear from people and hear what they think. But yeah, so if anyone out there is checking out the program, definitely let me know what you think by email me.
Awesome. We'll put all of those links in the show notes. And yeah, definitely. I'm going to certainly with college basketball, I think I'm going to try my hand a little bit for the March tournament. So that would be exciting to get women up there sometime soon. If women's college basketball, March Madness, they finally gave women the name March Madness. So maybe next comes sports betting. We'll see.
Hey,
But no, thank you so much for coming on and chatting and telling about, yeah, the unique thing that you're doing. It's really exciting. So like I said, check those links out in the show notes. And do you have time for just a couple rapid fire questions real quick?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What is your favorite sports movie ever?
Sports movie. I don't know. That's a good question. The Stanley Kubrick boxing movie from the 50s. What was that
Okay.
called? I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
Killer's Kiss.
Okay. Oh, wow. Nice.
Something like that.
That is an original one. I've not heard that one before. What's your favorite memory of like watching the tournament throughout the years? What was like one of the best games that you ever saw?
Um, back to that same game, Villanova Georgetown was like I haven't, I've never matched my heyday. 19, when I was 17, I was at, it's all been downhill from there. So that's just those are, those games to me were just the best. Like those that era of basketball. So I still, even though I'm bringing it up again, I think that Villanova Georgetown is definitely the game that has been the most memorable. I mean, that first half was incredible. They had to keep it up the second half, and they did. It was just amazing to watch. And I made like $100 on that game, which in '85 was money. I mean,
Yeah.
that was something
Yeah.
back then.
That's definitely a memory to keep around. That's awesome. Well, and who's your favorite athlete just as you've grown up and or continue to watch today? Who is inspiring you?
My favorite athlete, I would say my favorite athletes are Muhammad Ali. I just think was the greatest, like in every aspect. I just think he was just a great athlete, a great dude. I love watching. I actually watch his rope fight every once in a while on ESPN. I just love watching that fight. I think he was great. And I've actually been betting on horses for a long time too. And one of my favorite athletes is Zenyatta, a female horse that beat all the boys. And if you want to watch an incredible performance by a female athlete, watch Zenyatta win the Breeders' Cup. It is crazy. She was in last place and just flew by everyone. And it's a really, I mean, I know it's not a person, but it's still just a
I
really
love that.
inspiring thing.
Oh, I'm
And
definitely
growing
looking
up in
that up.
Detroit, Billy Sims a little bit. Growing up in Detroit, it was all about Billy Sims. So I always thought Billy Sims was great.
Okay. But yeah, I'm absolutely going to look up that clip and put that in the show notes so everyone can take a look. At Senyata, you
Zenyatta,
said? Yeah.
Zenyatta, yeah,
Okay.
she and the call of the race is incredible. It's just an incredible race to watch. Now I've ruined it because she's going to win, but yeah, it's a crazy race of a female athlete destroying her male counterparts. I mean, just annihilating them, and just waiting, and then it's a great
Awesome.
watch.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, and last question, I asked this one of everyone, but if you could get free tickets for life for any sporting event, you get them every year that it happens or every 4 years if it's the Olympics. What are you getting free tickets for life for?
There's no question March Madness. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I just think college athletes are awesome. I love watching the college. Whenever I watch it, I'm not really into the NBA. I don't follow it that much. But whenever I watch an NBA game, all I can think about is like, why aren't they playing? Or I always think there's been a stoppage or something. No one seems to be. You know what I mean? They just seem to be. The college kids are just like on it. There's that tension. They're all. I just love the energy that the college crowd brings to it, and I would definitely take those March Madness tickets for life over anything.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Steve, for coming to come on the podcast. And everyone, like I said, check out Better Takes. All the links are in the show notes. And yeah, I'm excited to see what you continue to build and certainly as women's sports can get up there, I'm hoping to see a lot of people using it for that as well. So kudos to you for building something from scratch, and yeah, excited to see what happens.
Thanks a lot for having me on, and I'll keep in touch and let you know how we grow up.